my creatives, and welcome to another video. So today I am creating my new junk journal with you. Yay! Because I finished the last one. If you didn't see that, I will leave the video of my junk journal with me down below in the description box, as well as a tutorial on that junk journal, which is real time. So if this is too fast for you, I also have a video where you can see how I make a real-time junk journal, my last one. And I also share the whole process and tell you how to bind it and everything. So for my last junk journal, I used the Flourish collection from Maggie Holmes, and I bought this as a digital kit on AG Digitals. And I wanted to continue using this kit because the first time that I made my last journal, it had more signatures, and halfway through I decided that I needed to remove half of the signatures. So I have some signatures left laying around here, and because I'm doing my memory keeping for 2020 in there, I wanted to keep it cohesive with the collection that I used. So I'm already thinking about what I want to do for 2021. I'm not sure, maybe I want to do a junk journal binder because I have a planner binder that I don't use, so maybe that is nice for 2021, and I will use different kits and different kinds of papers and not just one. But let me know what you think about that, if I would do a binder instead of a bound book. But I just need a little journal for the last weeks of 2020. So I decided to grab an A4 sized envelope as my cover. And what you saw me do here is using the scraps from my working in my other journal to create a cover. Because I have tons of scraps, and I thought it would be fun to make a patchwork journal page or journal cover for this journal with all these little tiny bits, because they're just laying around and I have so much of them and I really want to use my scraps, so I thought this was the perfect project for that. So I'm just gluing them onto my envelope with some Ranger multi-medium. It's my favorite multi-medium. I love it. It spreads nicely, it dries nicely. I really enjoy using it because I also can use it on papers that are not meant for mixed media. So this envelope also takes it pretty well. So yeah, this is just an A4 sized envelope, and I'm just adding my scraps on there. And I planned it out a little bit just to see if I had enough scraps and if I had enough different patterns, because I didn't want to have too much of the same patterns on this page. But now you see that I just removed them and I'm going with it. I think it ended up pretty much the same. Usually I don't really fuss about this, but because I really wanted to use up as much scraps as I could, I did plan it a little bit ahead. So yeah, I'm just gluing them down, and this will be my new junk journal. So the signatures for this junk journal are already made because they were a part of my last journal, which got too fat, and I really had to do some journal surgery, which is something I learned from Leanne from Creatively Free to Be Me. She opened my eyes a couple of years ago, I think was her video, that she just took out signatures, and I was like, yeah, of course you can take out signatures. Why not? So that is what I did with my last journal. I still need to film flip through. I'm planning on making a music only one and one a chatty version. But currently I am in my exams, so I don't have a lot of time. And I was lucky enough to have filmed this video before. So yeah, I don't know when the flip through is coming, but it is coming. I promise. I don't know when I have the time to film it and to sit down with it and talk you through it, because there are quite a lot of pages. It has 2019 and 2020 in there, and there are quite a lot of pages that I want to show you, and of course I want to do it in a good way. So now I'm adding some of the washi tape from Maggie Holmes. This is the day-to-day collection, which fits perfectly with the Flourish collection. So I'm just adding a little bit of these washies to break up the patterns a little bit, or when I didn't glue stuff properly down together, that there will be no gaps. I thought it was fun to add just a little extra, and I also liked the idea of this being a scrap page because, you know, 2020 it feels like a hot mess. So I thought that would be a fun representation of the second part of 2020, because I believe I start in week 29 in this journal. For the ones who don't know, I do a photo a week. Well, it expanded a bit more than just a photo a week in my junk journal. And I document that way our life, or my life, and I very much enjoy it. So I want to continue this because this is a project I can keep up with and I can catch up very fast with. So that is very nice. So now on to the inside of the cover, and I'm going to line the edges with this beautiful white washi tape that was also in the day-to-day collection washi tape set, because this paper is, or this envelope is meant for A4 size papers in it, and my papers are not quite A4 size because I print them at home and I have to cut off a little white strip. I just need something on the outside of the envelope to cover the white paper, because I really don't want the white to show. So here you see me adding the washi tape, and I first add a layer of matte medium and then I add washi tape. And now I'm just cutting around the inside of the envelope because it's a kind of a weird shape, but because it's washi tape it cuts very nicely and you can see through it how the line is going if you want to put your papers in there. So that's what I really liked. And now I'm also going to add that same washi tape on the bottom and on the top, and then I found out that this was the perfect size to line up the patterns. I was like, yes, it felt so satisfying. So now I have the same patterns on the same pattern to make it look more continuous. I don't know, it felt so satisfying. Same here, I looked at it and I was like, if I turn it around, it fits perfectly. So that is how I did it. This was just luck. I didn't expect this to happen, so that was very pleasing. It was oddly satisfying that the patterns matched up exactly on the same place. So thank you for making the perfect washi tape for this. I'm just cutting off the excess of the washi tape, and now I'm going to take this pattern paper and I cut it in half, which I shouldn't have done, but I'm so used to making journals with a spine that has a different paper. I forgot that I don't have to cut this paper in half. So yeah, don't cut this paper in half if you're making this journal, because that is just the middle of your spine. Because we're going to fold a spine into this envelope. So yeah, that's not necessary. I fix it off later on a little bit, but I'm also adding a layer of matte medium all over this pattern paper just to give it some extra protection and to make sure that if I do stain something on this, it's not going to be a big disaster and ripping up my whole journal cover, because it's only paper, and if there's something liquid going on there, paper doesn't like that. So now onto the flap. I tried several scraps for the flap, and then I thought maybe some washi tape. But I eventually go back to this paper because it matched the washi tape that I used, and I'm just going to add some washi on the sides there to cover up the white so that there is something there. And now I'm going to adhere, oh no, cut off the excess of course, but I'm just going to adhere the paper, the blue floral paper, to my flap, and I will cut it off when I have glued it on, because I am very bad at cutting paper exactly the perfect size. So I like to add the paper and use my envelope as a template to cut around it. It happened to me that I did cut into the envelope by accident because I wasn't careful enough, and that will also happen to me later on, but I will share how I fixed that. So now I'm going to find the paper that I want to use for the inside of the envelope, because that's just an ugly inside. I don't like it. And I find this pink paper that matches perfectly the paper that I already used on the inside. But this is kind of a tricky part, because you have to put it inside the envelope with glue, and sometimes it works perfectly and sometimes it's just not going so well. So this time it wasn't going as planned, and I tried to move it around, but then it was already sticky and it was already getting stuck down. So in the end, I just covered it up enough to cover up the blue part of the envelope, and I just decided to remove that piece of paper. You will not see it. It's not perfectly straight on there, but it's good enough, and now I have a very nice pocket inside my envelope. Now I'm going to outline my cover with this washi tape, and I'm going to do that on all the sides. Like I said, I cut by accident a bit in the envelope, so I'm just going to add some washi tape to make sure that it isn't open, and it also gives it a little bit more sturdiness to it, and especially to the corners, that there are several layers on there to protect it a little bit. And I also like the look of washi tape going all around, and it makes sure that the papers that I stuck on the front will not get ripped off, because now it's just one nice streamlined cover. That was difficult to say, but I hope you understand what I mean. I will not get stuck under corners of papers on the sides of the envelope of the cover. So now it is time to make my spine, and I first go and find the middle point of this envelope, and here's one of my signatures, and I'm measuring out how much I need to keep the signature inside the journal. So at first I score it right in the middle, but that wasn't meant to go, because I remembered that I made the signatures that the brown paper hangs out a little bit of the book. So I decided to make sure that I at least have an inch of a spine, and not use the middle one, because that way I can add 2 signatures to this book. So it has a fold of an inch, or a spine of an inch, and that way I can add 2 signatures into it. But here you see that it was not a good idea to cut my paper in half, so I'm going to fix that with some washi tape. I should have picked different washi tape because of the feel of this washi tape, and it's more of kind of a plastic gold washi tape. It folds over all the time, it lets go, but then I take some double-sided tape and add it there, and then I was like, no, it's not the right kind of washi tape. But still, I really liked it, because I thought the gold would look very nice with the pink. But I'm going to add a little bit more washi tape, so I'm going to add more double-sided tape just on the edge of the other washi tape, to make sure that will stay down. Especially that it stays down where I sew the signatures in. That's the most important part for me. And if it comes up a little bit, I don't really bother. I don't really mind. I just want the spine to be reinforced enough so it can handle my binding, and that it can handle all the paper goodies that I'm going to put in there. And I'm actually very happy with the washi tape that I chose. It was maybe material wise not the best one to choose, because like you see, it comes up a little bit, and I will add some extra glue. Then I found out that I glued down my flap or my pocket, but I just stick my bone folder in there and just rip it open. Nobody sees that it's ripped open. And it's a junk journal, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. So now I'm going to measure out where I want to put my signatures and where I want to put my holes. So I have 2 signatures that I want to add into this journal. So I take a distance in the spine that is kind of the same apart from each other, so that I have enough room to sew them in, and that they're not too close together. But I don't recommend you doing it like I'm doing here. I was lazy, and because I already had signatures with holes in them, I decided, well, I'm just going to lay my signature next to that, and yeah, I'm just going to poke holes that way. So I have this one line, and then I move my signature to the other line, and I'm just going to poke the holes on the same places. It did work, but if you are wanting a perfect binding, and you want it to be, it's not the way that I recommend it, but it is for us lazy people a very good way, because I didn't want to spend too much time on this, simply because I don't have a lot of time at the moment, and because everything was already ready for me. I really wanted to continue my documenting. So yeah, I thought this was a good way to do it. So now you see me adding some extra glue to the washi tape, and I'm smudging it out and drying it off with my heat tool before I sew in my signatures. So I came back the next day to do the whole pokey thing and the whole binding, because I noticed when I folded my spine that my cover was still a bit wet. So I recommend that you wait 24 hours before you start sewing in. Otherwise your paper will break, what happened to me, because it is still wet from all the media, and it will just rip and not look nice. So I recommend that you wait 24 hours after you made your cover. So now I'm just doing a simple stitch. It's just going in and out and following all the holes. So I want to have my knot on the inside of my cover. So I start in the middle on the inside, and then I just go up and go down, skip the middle hole. Oh, here I made a little mistake. I took the wrong hole. So I go in to the middle and make sure that I have the back holes, because this is my last signature, and then I go up and then I go down again. It's very simple stitch. Then I go back up again. But like I said, if you want to see this in real time with a very good explanation, I will leave that video down below in the description box for you. Now here I'm going to skip the middle hole, because that is the hole I also want to end in. And then I'm just going to repeat what I did on the top. So yeah, like I said, if you want to have a real-time tutorial, I have one. It is linked down below in the description box. It is my last journal that I made, and I made that cover out of a cereal box. So if you want to see that, and I also explain the binding and how I bind my journals. So if that is something that you want to see, I recommend you go see that. So now I'm tying it off, making sure that everything is nice together, and I don't pull the strings too hard, because then you can break them, but I do pull them tight, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not, yeah, it's some kind of in the middle. Pull them tight, but not too hard, because then you can rip your paper or your twine. I use embroidery thread for this, but you can use almost anything to bind your book. I even saw YouTubers that make true junk journals use dental floss to bind their books. I was like, that's genius. I don't like it, because dental floss has a weird feeling to it, which I don't like. But still, even if you want to make something and you only have dental floss in your house, you can still bind a book. So that's great. Yeah, so I'm just adding my first signature. I like to start from back to front when I sew in my signatures, but that's just a personal preference. If you want to do it the other way around, that is up to you. You don't have to do it the way that I'm doing it. This is just me doing it the way I like to do it. So I make sure that my thread is also on both sides of the middle thread going there, so I can tie it off very nicely. And then everything is sewn into my new journal. But of course I need a ribbon, and I have this lace that I bought at Action a long time ago. And I'm going to put that under the binding and with a paper clip, and that is a tip that I got from someone who left me a comment on the last video, so thank you so much, because that's a lifesaver. But I like to add my ribbon under the binding, because when maybe the ribbon breaks, or maybe I don't like it anymore, I can replace it and it's not stuck to my journal. So now I'm going to decorate my front cover a little bit. Usually I don't do this at the start of a journal, but because I already finished my other journal and decorated that cover, I knew somewhat kinda how I wanted it to be for the vibe, because it's a continuous journal on my 2020 memory keeping. And it's really fun, because the last journal started out as my personal creative journal, and then it turned into my memory keeper. So I would like to have for 2021 just a journal which is a memory keeper, because I can't really share my other journal with people, because there is also personal stuff in there, like personal feelings and stuff. I rather not share that with other people, but I would like to share the memory keeping part. So and this was a little experiment when I started out. I was just wondering if I could keep up with this, because I did Project Life, I did scrapbooking, I did Traveler's Notebook, and I really liked the memory keeping and I really missed it, but I didn't find a system I could keep up with being a student and doing YouTube and all the things that you have to do because you're an adult. So I'm very happy that I found something that I actually can keep up with and doesn't stress me out when I work in it. It's very relaxing, even when I'm behind, because I'm very, very much behind. I think I'm at week 33 for my documenting right now. So yeah, I'm very much behind. But I do keep my photos, and I pick a photo every week and I write it down in my bullet journal. So I have this file on my phone with all the photos. So I already have that. I just need to print them and then I'm ready to go. So yeah, this is a perfect memory keeping way for me. I just really want to have a journal next year, or maybe a binder. I'm not sure yet. With just the memory keeping photo a week. So while I was ranting about my memory keeping vibes, I am decorating the front cover. So I added the stencil with a stencil 2020. It's a stencil that I use for my personal journaling to write out the date. I also use this stencil to write on all my covers the year and the volume, because I have quite a few journals. So I decided to sit down in the summer one afternoon to just write down the dates on there and the years, because it was all nicely on the inside, but I couldn't figure out what the order was of my journals. So to keep it cohesive on that way, I will just use the same number stencil. I also added a little sticker from the Maggie Holmes sticker book, or the Journal Studio sticker book. And now I'm going to add this doily with this beautiful ephemera piece from the Flourish collection. Because on the other journal I used a big piece with a peacock on there. So I thought it was nice to add here this piece with swans on there. And I think that's my journal. I will just add this little word sticker which says happy little moments. Although 2020 is not a year, 2020 is also in some way a good year for me. And here you have a little flip through of my journal, how it is looking right now with the signatures. But if you see the tutorial, you will see all the signatures, because this is just making a new cover for the signatures that I took out of my other journal. Now I'm going to add this label sticker here, and I'm going to write my own name in there and when I started this journal. So I'm going to take the start date of my memory keeping and not the start date of actually when I did it. So here are some still shots. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and I want to thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, I would love it if you would leave me a thumbs up. I would also love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye!